I pulled off Highway 29 just after midnight, somewhere between Napa and Vallejo. My phone had been sitting in the cup holder for the last 40 minutes, face down, and when I flipped it over to check the route, I saw something I didn't expect. A notification from my car insurance app. Safe arrival confirmed. Drive score 94. I stared at it for a second. I hadn't opened the app in weeks, maybe longer. I'd signed up for the program back in March because it knocked 12% off my premium. You install the app, it tracks your drives, scores your behavior. Braking, acceleration, speed, time of day. Standard stuff now. But I'd never gotten a notification like that before. Not once. I tapped it. The app opened to a trip summary. It showed the route I'd just driven, rendered in a thin blue line on a map. Departure time, arrival time, distance, everything correct. At the bottom, in small gray text, your driving helps us keep you safe. I closed it and kept driving. The next morning, I checked the app again. There was a full log now. Every trip I'd taken in the last 6 months, each one time-stamped and scored. Drives to work, the grocery store, my sister's place in San Rafael, all of it tracked. I'd known that was happening, obviously. That was the point. But seeing it laid out like that, every movement cataloged, felt different somehow. What I hadn't expected was the notification. I scrolled through the settings. There was a toggle for arrival alerts, but it was off. It had always been off. I remembered turning it off during setup because I didn't want my phone buzzing every time I parked. I turned the toggle on, then off again. Then I closed the app and didn't think about it for a few days. The second notification came the following Tuesday. I was driving home from a client meeting in Concord, taking back roads because 680 was jammed. My phone lit up on the passenger seat. Safe arrival confirmed. Drive score 91. I was still 10 minutes from home. I glanced at the phone, then back at the road. I was on Marsh Creek Road, winding through the hills. No buildings, no streetlights, just curves and darkness and the occasional reflective marker. I hadn't stopped. I hadn't even slowed down much. When I got home, I opened the app. The trip summary showed my route ending at a point on Marsh Creek Road, right where I'd been when the notification appeared. It labeled the destination as frequent location, which didn't make sense. I'd only driven that road a handful of times, and I'd never stopped there. I zoomed in on the map. The endpoint sat at a turnout near the top of a hill. There was nothing there. No address, no landmark, just a widening in the shoulder where cars could pull over. I tried to remember if I'd stopped there before, maybe to take a call or check directions. I didn't think so, but I couldn't be sure. The app had logged 23 total trips. I went through them one by one. Most were normal. Work, errands, familiar routes, but 3 of them ended at locations I didn't recognize. Not places I'd stopped, just random points along roads I'd driven, each one marked as a frequent location. One was on a residential street in Walnut Creek. One was in an empty parking lot behind a closed-down furniture store. One was on the shoulder of Interstate 80 near the Carquinez Bridge. I hadn't stopped at any of those places. I was sure of it. I disabled location permissions for the app. Then I turned off the arrival alerts again, even though they'd never been on. Then I restarted my phone. That weekend, I drove to my sister's house in San Rafael. I left my phone in my jacket pocket the entire time, screen locked. When I arrived, I pulled it out to text her that I was outside. The notification was already there. Safe arrival confirmed, drive score 89. I checked the app. It had tracked the whole trip. Departure time, route, speed, everything, even with location permissions disabled. I called my sister from the driveway. She's a software engineer, works on privacy compliance for a healthcare company. I figured if anyone could explain it, she could. It's probably using background motion sensors, she said. Accelerometer data, gyroscope, stuff like that. It doesn't need GPS to know you're in a moving vehicle. It can infer location from cell towers and Wi-Fi triangulation. But I turned off location access. For the app, sure, but the operating system still has access. The app can request anonymized data. It's a workaround, technically legal. I asked her about the false destinations, the stops I hadn't made. Could be a GPS drift issue, she said. Or maybe the app is clustering nearby endpoints. If you drive past the same area a few times, it might assume you're stopping there, even if you're just passing through. That made sense. It wasn't comforting, but it made sense. I deleted the app that night. I went into settings, revoked every permission, cleared the cache, and uninstalled it. Then I called my insurance company and opted out of the monitoring program. They said my rate would go back up, but I didn't care. The next notification came 3 days later. I was driving south on 101, approaching San Francisco. My phone was in my bag in the back seat. I'd been on the road for about 30 minutes when I stopped for gas in Mill Valley. While I was filling the tank, I checked my email. The notification was sitting at the top of my screen. Safe arrival confirmed. Drive score 87. I opened the App Store. The insurance app wasn't there. I checked my installed apps. It wasn't there either. I searched my phone for any trace of it. Nothing. But the notification had come from it. The icon was the same. The wording was identical. I looked at the notification again. When I tapped it, nothing happened. No app opened. The notification just disappeared. I got back in the car and kept driving. I didn't stop again until I reached the city. When I parked, I pulled out my phone and waited. Nothing. For a week, nothing. Then, last Thursday, I was driving east on Highway 4, heading out to Brentwood to pick up some equipment for work. It was late afternoon. Traffic was light. I'd been on the road for maybe 20 minutes when I felt my phone buzz in my pocket. I waited until I hit a red light, then checked it. Safe arrival confirmed. Drive score 83. I was nowhere near Brentwood. I was still 15 miles out, stopped at an intersection in Pittsburgh. I pulled over into a shopping center parking lot and opened my phone. There was no app to open, but the notification was real. I could see it, I could read it. When I swiped it away, it disappeared, but it had been there. I sat in the parking lot for a while, trying to figure out what to do. I thought about factory resetting my phone. I thought about getting a new one entirely. But I didn't know if that would help. I didn't know what I was trying to stop. I drove home slowly, staying in the right lane, keeping under the speed limit. My phone stayed silent. When I got home, I looked up the insurance app online. The company's website still listed the monitoring program, but the app itself had been discontinued 6 months ago. They'd migrated all users to a new platform. I'd never switched over. I just stopped using it. But something was still tracking me. Something was still scoring my drives, cataloging my routes, deciding where I'd arrived. I haven't driven much since then. I work from home when I can. When I do drive, I leave my phone behind. I've tried to map out the stops it logged, the places it claimed I'd been. Some of them I recognize, some of them I don't. 2 days ago, I walked past my car in the driveway and saw something in the back window. A small black device, about the size of a matchbox, stuck to the glass with a suction cup. I didn't recognize it. I don't remember installing anything like that. I haven't touched it yet. I don't know if I should. My phone is sitting on my desk right now, screen down. I haven't checked it in hours. But I know when I do, there will be something waiting for me. Another confirmation, another score. Another arrival I didn't make.